Think you were taught that elephants are the undisputed kings of the land? You were lied to. 500,000 years ago, on a sun-bleached shore in the Mediterranean, a swan stands taller than the elephant walking beneath it. Not a metaphor. Not a trick of perspective. A biological fact so disturbing that it rewrites everything you thought you knew about the hierarchy of life. The elephant's shoulder height measures 100 centimeters. Shorter than a kitchen counter. Shorter than the table where you eat breakfast. An adult male weighing the same as a medium-sized domestic pig. And towering above it, casting a shadow across its thick, wrinkled hide, a swan stretches 2.1 meters long, a waterfowl transformed into a terrestrial predator with a wingspan longer than a professional basketball player is tall. This is not evolution as you were taught it. This is inversion. The ancestor of this miniature creature was Paleoloxodon antiquus, the straight-tusked elephant. A titan that weighed the equivalent of 8 Toyota Corollas. A biological machine of such raw industrial power that it reshaped forests simply by walking through them. Its descendants inherited a continent. They ruled it for millions of years. And then the Mediterranean sealed itself shut. Sea levels dropped. Rose. Dropped again. Each time, a few creatures wandered onto the emerging land bridges. Each time, the water climbed behind them, trapping them in a shrinking room with no exit. If the giants of the past could lose 95% of their body mass in a geological eye blink, what is stopping the same process from happening to you? The answer is not in the size of the creature. The answer is in the size of the cage. But the true horror of what happened on this island is not what they became. It is how they became it. And it starts inside the bones. An adult male Paleoloxodon falconeri weighs approximately 250 kilograms. The mass of a domestic pig wrapped in the loose, wrinkled skin of an elephant. Its limbs are not miniaturized copies of its ancestor. They are entirely reorganized structures, hydraulic struts stripped of their industrial capacity. A high-performance heavy-lift chassis reduced to a nimble, lightweight scout vehicle. This is insular dwarfism. The shrinking room of biology. When large animals are trapped with limited resources, evolution does not preserve them. It compresses them. It takes the blueprint of a titan and deletes everything that does not fit inside the cage. The result is not a smaller elephant. The result is a different machine entirely, one engineered for survival in a world where being big means being dead. The limbs still function on hydrostatic pressure. The joints still articulate. But the scale has shifted so drastically that the creature no longer occupies the same ecological niche. It has become prey-sized in a world where predators no longer exist. But while the giants were shrinking, something else was growing. The Cygnus falconeri, the giant swan, occupies the void left by the collapsing hierarchy. Its wings stretch like decommissioned aircraft glider wings. Massive, flightless airfoils serving as redundant structural remnants of a former aerial life. The creature has traded flight for dominance. It has grounded itself permanently because there is nothing left in the sky worth chasing. Step back. 500,000 years. The Mediterranean is not a sea. It is a wall. And Sicily is not an island. It is a cage. And inside this cage, the rules you think you know are deleted. The dwarf elephant's world is now a forest of giant stems. Every blade of grass towers. Every shadow threatens. The deep, infrasonic rumble that once shook forests, the voice of the ancient straight-tusked elephant, has been replaced by high-pitched, pig-like squeals. The voice of the king has become the voice of prey. The swan views the same world from surveillance height. It sees giants where there are only herbivores. It moves through the Mediterranean grasslands not as a bird, but as a terrestrial apex predator occupying a niche that has not existed since the pterosaurs vanished 70 million years earlier. The answer to the shrinking lies inside the spine. The vertebrae of Paleoloxodon falconeri are not miniaturized copies of its ancestor. They are reorganized, curved inward to redistribute weight for climbing Sicilian mountains that were once the peaks of a submerged world. Each bone has been restructured to manage a body that no longer carries the mass of 8 automobiles. The neural canal has shifted. The articulation points have realigned. This is not shrinking. This is architectural re-engineering. Evolution did not make a smaller elephant. It dismantled the original and built an entirely new machine from the salvaged parts. Inside the giant swan's femur, a different engineering solution reveals itself. A lattice of air pockets and calcium struts supporting massive weight without the mass. Hollow bone integrity, the same structural principle that allowed pterosaurs to reach wingspans of 12 meters. The swan has inherited the blueprint of ancient aerial giants and repurposed it for terrestrial dominance. Every machine has a forge. And to understand what built these creatures, you must understand the prison that designed them. The Mediterranean sealed itself. Sea levels dropped, rose, dropped again. Each cycle carved a smaller room. Each cycle deleted another option for escape. The creatures trapped on Sicily did not choose to transform. They were compressed by forces beyond their comprehension. The Pleistocene Mediterranean was not the vacation postcard you imagine. Crushing humidity. Summers that stretched the definition of survival. The dwarf elephant evolved a thick coat, a thermodynamic paradox, fighting the losing battle of surface area to volume ratio. As the body shrank, the surface area increased relative to mass. Heat escaped faster. The creature compensated by growing insulation it should not have needed. There was no elsewhere. No migration. No escape. The elephant that once needed a continent now had to survive on an island smaller than some modern cities. For 300,000 years, this system worked. The dwarf elephants thrived. The giant swans ruled. The hierarchy was stable if unrecognizable. And then the cage door opened. Sea levels fell. Land bridges formed. And the real world invaded. Lions. Hyenas. Predators that had never forgotten what an elephant was supposed to look like. The dwarfed gods of Sicily had no memory of what it meant to be hunted. They learned. And they died. Paleoloxodon nigriensis arrived too late, a second attempt at dwarfism that emerged just as the predators breached the walls. It never had a chance. The same isolation that sculpted survival became the reason for extinction. They traded everything to survive the cage. They became unrecognizable. They outlasted ice ages in isolation. And then, when the walls finally came down, they could not survive the world they had forgotten. Which raises a question that has nothing to do with elephants. And everything to do with you. The dwarf elephant is not a smaller elephant. It is a more efficient machine. It traded raw power for nimbleness and survival. It is the silicon chip of the elephant lineage, proof that biology will sacrifice anything to fit inside the room. You believe your size is a constant. Your dominance, a guarantee. But Sicily proves that if the walls close in, nature will trim you down until you fit. Remember the ancestor. Paleoloxodon antiquus. The straight-tusked elephant that weighed the mass of 8 Toyota Corollas. A creature of such raw industrial power that it reshaped forests by walking through them. We began with the weight of 8 machines of steel. We ended with a creature that could fit in the backseat of one. This is not evolution as progress. This is not improvement. This is a controlled demolition of the ego. The giant swan was not an anomaly. It was a pattern. Whenever dinosaurs shrank, whenever elephants shrank, birds immediately filled the void of the giant. The Cygnus falconeri occupied the same terrifying niche as the Hatzegopteryx, a pterosaur that hunted dinosaurs 70 million years earlier. Size is a role. And if you abandon it, something else will claim it. The Mediterranean did not break the rules of evolution. It revealed them. The rules were never about becoming bigger, stronger, more dominant. The rules were always about fitting inside the cage. If you were trapped on an island with no way out and no food to find, how much of yourself would you be willing to lose just to stay alive?